Oh man, Gator Nation. Y'all know how to have some fun. You know, I spent today pretty pumped up because I had a chance to go to the swamp down the street over there and had some gator tail for the first time in my life. Pretty pumped up about that. I saw Tim Tebow in a statue and I had a chance to Tebow in front of it. Not gonna lie, that was a big highlight. And just the chance to come and spend some time with you all here today kind of makes me want to transfer here to Gator Nation. I think I picked the wrong school. But thank you so much. I'm so humbled and I'm so grateful for this opportunity to talk to you tonight. And when Scott and Travis asked me to come out here to give the keynote for this evening, I thought about what I, as a college student, sitting in your shoes not too long ago, I'm not that much older than all of you, not that many more years, but what I, as a college student, wanted to hear when I was just starting college, when I was a freshman. And there were a lot of things that ran through my mind, but there was one thing that really stood out, and it was this notion of the Tiger Mom experience that many of us Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders go through. Some of you may know the author Amy Chua and the book that she wrote, and it talks about her experience coming to the States and raising kids and giving them this sense of priority and values in their life centered around prestige, centered around academic success, centered around how can I make myself or position myself in this world to be able to go on after college to have a prosperous career. And I thought about that story and I thought about my own story and where I've come these last couple of years. And so I want to take the next, 15, 20 minutes or so to share some of my life stories, share some of the lessons that I have learned along the way, and some of the myths that we have come to believe as children of Tiger Moms. You guys ready? All right. So there are 3 myths that I want to share to talk about today. And the first is that to be successful, we have to play it safe and do what everyone else is doing, only do a better job at it. And usually it's the route that's safest, it's the route that's most conventional, the route that will put us in the most successful position after high school and college. And I believed this as a child. You see, ever since I could remember, I loved Batman. You know, when I was 3 years old, I was Batman for Halloween, and then when I was 4 years old, I was Batman again. And I think, looking back, I think now it's because my parents just didn't have the money to buy me another Halloween costume. But I loved Batman because he had this sense of justice and he wanted his life to matter. And I think a lot of us in this room want our lives to matter. We want to make a difference in this world. And in order to be like Batman, I grew up as a very, very angelic Asian American kid. Would make any mom proud. And just to give you a little glimpse of my childhood life, when I was in 4th grade, our 4th grade teacher asked us if you could have the experience to get on a time machine and go anywhere in the world, at any time in history, past, present, future, where would you go? And I was really excited. I wrote 3-4 pages as a 4th grader about how if I had a time machine, I would go to the future, to the day of my SATs, and I would watch myself take the SATs. That's how important that was for me. No joke. My mom still has that paper. Holds on to it. You see, in high school, in the summers, my parents would drop me off at the library, and every morning I would stack books every single day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And they would come and pick us up at 5 o'clock after work, and every single day we would go stack books in the morning, read our SAT books in the afternoon, and do our math workbooks at night. And we were such angelic kids. In high school, we didn't have a math club, so I started the math club. that's the yearbook picture. There's 4 of us. You can't really see it as well. My brother's next to me, and there's 2 other guys. And we would just talk about math all day. We had a chess club. That's me on the left, my brother on the right. I would make him join all the clubs with me. He had a broken arm, but fortunately in chess, you only need 1 arm. And the proudest day of my life up to that point was when I got to the National Chess Championship. There is a National Chess Championship, folks, and I got there. I missed my high school prom because I was studying for the AP English exam at home by myself. I was a tiger mom's dream. I came home one day in senior year with 4 letters of acceptance for college. 1 from Harvard, 1 from Yale, 1 from Stanford, and 1 from Penn. And I gave them to my parents. I said, Dad, I made it. And his question to me was, what about Princeton and Columbia? What happened to those? I subscribed to this myth that my success and happiness depended on achieving these goals. And that in order to do so, you play it safe, you play the conventional route, and you go down that path that has been laid out for us. Become successful, achieve these dreams. You see, I brought that to college with me in Harvard, and I believe that for me to go live this prosperous life, I wanted to be a lawyer, well, a doctor first and then a lawyer down the road. And I decided in my junior year that the best way to put myself in that position was to apply for these law firm internships. So I applied for 15 internships that summer, and I got call back or interviews from 2 of them. And then afterwards I got a call back from 1 of them. The other didn't bother to call me, and they said, Eddie, unfortunately we don't have an internship spot for you available. And for those of you juniors in the house, anybody? You all know how precious your summer internship is. And I was pretty down in the dumps that day, and I thought to myself, man, I don't have a summer internship. What am I going to do with my life? And that was the saddest day of my life until that point. And the only thing that was available for me to do that day was to work on a campaign of a man named Barack Obama. And I joined this campaign in 2007, and not many people really knew his name. His staff was so small that we would basically just go with him to these events and try to fill up these events to make it look like it was happening, popular, whatever it might be. And then when I would go, and we would go knock on doors, and we would make phone calls that whole summer of my junior year, and that's all we would do over and over again. And people would hang up on us and tell us that, no, man, this man's not going to become the president of the United States. What are you thinking? At the end of that summer, the polls, if you could read, had him down by 15 points in the polls. At one point, it got down to 20 points, and it was Hillary Clinton who was supposed to win the next presidency. And so it wasn't actually supposed to go anywhere. And so at the end of that summer, when I was going to go back to school, the campaign said, you know, Eddie, we could use you in this office if you want to join the campaign. Would you like to join the campaign? And I thought to myself, that means I have to drop out of college to do that. I'm not going to do that. And then I said no. The next day they called me back into the office and said, hey, you know, we could really use you to help us make some videos for this campaign. We got someone on the phone for you. And on the phone came this voice. And he says, Eddie, we'd love for you to join this campaign. Let's go change the world. And it was Barack Obama. And he said, let's do this. And I said, you know, I got to go ask my mom. I asked my mom, and she said no. And I grappled a lot with that, because dropping out of college for a man who wasn't supposed to win was a big deal. And so how do you justify that? How do you make do with that? How do you take such a big risk and jeopardize your potential law school career or your law, you know, whatever, that safety net that we all have secured for ourselves? How do we do that? And I thought to myself, and I spent the night flipping coins. I'm not sure if you guys have done that. I just flipped coins all night, saying if it's heads, I'm going to do it. And then I'm like, oh, let me try it again. He just kept on doing it. And ultimately, my parents said, it's your decision. And I said, okay, I'm going to do it. And I dropped out of college and I worked on Barack Obama's campaign, and he needed someone to make his videos for him. So I followed him around the country making his videos. And I would see him in so many different situations, and I got to see him as a man, as a candidate, as a father, as a husband, over a year and a half traveling around the country making his videos. That's where I learned to make videos. And at the end, in 2008, Barack Obama became the first African American president of the United States of America. Afterwards, I went back to school, like my mom asked me to. I finished my college degree, and they called me and said, hey, we'd like you to join the White House. And I became President Obama's liaison to the Asian American community, fighting for the Asian American folks, the Pacific Islander folks around this country. Folks who need a voice. Folks who need hope. Our Vietnamese brothers and sisters who sit through nail salons breathing in dangerous chemicals. Korean American laundromat owners who have to work countless hours to make sure that their family is able to sustain themselves. Asian Americans across this country who needed a voice, and I was able to serve in this White House, and it was the proudest achievements I was able to have. And there are moments in our lives when we're given an opportunity that might seem like a risk, that might seem like a failure, that might not seem the path that you have dictated for yourself. Even if it means dropping out of college. There are those opportunities, but when we have those opportunities, ladies and gentlemen, my first response to the Tiger Mom is, don't be afraid to fail miserably if it means taking risks. My time, it was about my grades, my classes, my way, my future. It was about me. But the part that didn't come as expected was the part I yearned the most, and that was the fulfillment and the happiness that was glaringly missing in college. And for most of my college year, my freshman and sophomore year, I was so burnt out, spending most of my hours at the library, just hoping that if I just tried harder, if I got a better grade, if I just passed this exam, I would feel so much more fulfilled, I would feel so satisfied. And I had this belief in my head that that's the way to make college successful. That's the way to go on and achieve bigger things. But there was a point where I was so exhausted my freshman and sophomore year, and you have to excuse me because I've actually only talked about this once in a public setting like this. And there was a point where in my freshman year and into my sophomore year that I was so exhausted that I fell into depression for months at a time, where the only thing I wanted to do every single morning when I woke up was to pull the blankets over my head and just stay there and just hold on to those moments in bed because I didn't want to get out. And I would stay there sometimes for even hour upon hour, just missing my classes, not wanting to do any interaction with anybody in the world, not wanting to face any of the fears that I had, not wanting to face any of the expectations that I put on myself. I was depressed. And like a lot of Asian Americans, I felt ashamed and so stigmatized that I didn't want to go and tell anybody about it. And I held that pain in, and I felt so lost because the more I sought success, the more I sought prestige and achievement and grades, the more I needed it and the more I wanted it. It was an addiction. And I came to realize the principle of thought in which I had invested my life in was a lie. You know, some of you have seen the Batman series, and like me, for the Batman fans, you know in the movie, and I'm not going to give too much away if you haven't seen it, that Batman feels a sense of, even no matter how much he was able to achieve, no matter how much notoriety he had, there was this lacking feeling that he had that drove him just to put it all away. And the realization that I had in my life was that no matter how successful you had, how much success you had, or how much achievement you had, or how many grades you were able to secure for yourself, or how many jobs, even the dream job you were able to secure yourself, that if you were doing that for your own purposes, to make yourself happy, to climb up that ladder, then there is a dissatisfaction, there is an emptiness that comes with it all. A lot of questions that I asked myself was, how do I find my passion in life? And I know that a lot of you all are asking that question too. How do I find my passion in life? And the realization I had at that point was that it's not about living for ourselves, you see. It's about finding that place where our gifts and our talents and the needs of the world and those that need a voice and hope intersect. And when you're able to find the opportunity to use your time and your skill sets to help those people, you are so much more fulfilled. You get so much more than you can ever even give. When we live for ourselves, we'll be empty, but when we live for others and live for something greater than yourself, there is countless amounts of treasures that lie ahead. And the third point that I want to debunk is this idea that in order to make a difference in the world, I need to be blank. I need to be rich. I need to have good grades. I need to be successful. I need to be beautiful. I need to be put together. I need to be charismatic. Though that's what I believe in. And the truth goes beyond that. The reality is that ordinary people can do extraordinary things. That's not simply the people that have achieved big things, but it's ordinary people. People like us, dorks and geeks at the core, awkward people at the core who can make a difference. Have you all heard of this young lady, Janet Liang? Some of you? It's a young lady in California who found out recently that she had leukemia. And she put a video together on YouTube and she said, hey, I have leukemia, but there's no hope, there's no cure for me unless someone out there is able to donate their bone marrow. But in order to find that bone marrow, we need people that will be willing to swab their cheeks and put that into the registry so we could find the right match. So she put a video out there where it just came and just opened herself up and said, I need a bone marrow match. And it took a young lady who was literally weeks, if not days away from her last days in life, whose cells were broken, whose cells were literally self-destructing and eating at itself. It took a young lady like that to inspire thousands, if not tens of thousands of people to enter the bone marrow registry. And now countless numbers of people are saved because an ordinary girl decided to go out there and do an extraordinary thing. Some of you have heard of this young man. Yes. Make some noise for insanity. I've had the opportunity and the privilege to go to school with Jeremy, and we were in the same Asian American Christian fellowship on campus, and he led a Bible study with a bunch of folks. And the Bible study was actually a bunch of jocks, because that was his group of friends. And it would be like a football player, basketball player, a couple soccer players, a baseball player, and myself, the chess champion of Kansas. And we would, that's right. And we would sit around his room, and every single time he had chicken fingers and chicken tenders. That's all we would eat. We would just eat that. And he would go around and he would say, Eddie, what's going on with you these days? How are you doing? Tell me about the struggles that you've been facing. John, how are you doing with this? And he would go around and he would ask each and every one of us, how are you doing? Is there anything I could do to help you out? Before Jeremy became Jeremy, the NBA player, Jeremy was a young man who was humble. He was a goofball. He was a dork. And he cared. He was someone that loved others more than he loved himself. And I believe that his success on the main stage has much to do with his success and his skill set as a basketball player as it does with his ability to love others and to be humble as a person. We have to be good men and women before we become great men and women. Anyone, no matter how broken, no matter how awkward, no matter how down in the dumps you are, has the ability to do extraordinary things. So, which brings me to my final story, and that is the story of the Jubilee Project. In 2010, there was an earthquake in Haiti on January 12th. Happened to be the same day as my brother's birthday. And he decided that he wanted to play a part to do something to help the people of Haiti. So he was in New York City at the time, so he brought his guitar out there and started playing the guitar in the subways of New York City, kind of like this. And if you know my brother, and if you know me, we actually can't sing. We're not like any of these folks up here. We're pretty bad. We don't have the ability to sing or dance, so watch out. But if you saw my brother, you probably would have run away, because it wasn't the most delightful thing. But he went out there and he said, I want to help these people. And he said, I want to raise $100 for Haiti. So he started playing his guitar, and by the end of the day, he was able to raise $70. He said, you know what, I'm not going to stop there. I'm going to raise the rest of it. So he put a video together and posted it online, and within a couple weeks, thousands of people had watched this video, and he was able to turn that $70 to $700 for the cause of helping folks in Haiti. Ordinary people can do extraordinary things when they try. And so a week later, we said, you know what, we got something going on here with this YouTube thing. Why don't we continue to make some more videos? So I joined forces with him on the side as we had in our free time, we started making these videos. And then I asked my friend Eric from college to join us. And the three of us, we started making these videos where we believed in doing good. And we were able to make a video called Love Language. Sounds like some of you may have seen it. And it was a video about showing love for those that may not feel loved already, or showing mercy and grace for those that need it the most. And we found that, the fact that I was able to go viral and go out and make a difference in the world, why don't we continue to make these videos? After that video came out, we got an anonymous donation of $1,000, which allowed us to buy our first real camera. And we started making these videos, and we said, you know what? In the next 2 years, we're going to start making as many videos as possible. And over the last 2 years, even though we had our jobs and Eric was in Harvard Med School, we were able to produce 70 videos that raised over $30,000 for nonprofits around the world and have 4.4 million views on YouTube. Extraordinary things. And so that brings us to today. After doing this for 2 years, we decided that we need to do something bigger. It's not simply enough to talk about it. We had to do something to make that change, to live it out. And we decided that this is the opportunity for us to take another risk, to go out and do something crazy. And that crazy translated into Jason, my brother, submitting his letter of resignation at this company called Bain in New York City, where he was receiving a 6-digit salary. And then Eric followed through and he said, you know what, I'm going to take a leave of absence from Harvard Medical School. I'm going to drop out. And then I said, you know what, I'm going to do the same. Let's do it together. And so on April 15th, my last day of work, I submitted this letter of resignation to the president. And then 2 Fridays ago, I had a chance to meet with him and say, we're moving on to start the Jubilee Project full time. And the three of us, we packed up our car. We packed up our car and we started in Washington, D.C. and moved everything we had to Irvine, California. That's right. You could cheer about that. That's right. Along the way, there are a lot of doubts, a lot of questions that I still have as I talk to you, a lot of concerns that my mom, the Tiger Mom, has, that both of her sons have left their jobs. We don't have funding. It's not here yet. We're still trying to raise funding. I actually just lost my health insurance a couple days ago, and I'm hoping that Eric, with his 2 years of med school, is going to be able to help me out if something happens. Or any of you. And I look around this room and I see the folks that are performing on the stage, and I believe that all of us, that applies to all of us, that no matter what you become, whether it's a doctor who wants to go out and help people, or a lawyer who wants to seek justice, or even a teacher who wants to go into the classrooms to help our next generation of leaders, or artists who want to perform, who have the passion of showing their gifts to the world so that they can bring happiness to those that need it the most, or people that walk down the halls of Congress. I believe that all that power is in this room, and I believe that there is even the potential for the first Asian American president amongst our generation, amongst all of you. But in closing, let me say this. Freshmen, sophomore, junior, seniors, whoever you are, wherever you find yourself, whatever questions you might face, I know that you all are going to do amazing things. You're going to go out there and change the world. But in order to get to that point, let me tell you this, that you have to be able to take risks even though it means failing miserably. You have to live for something greater than yourself, because it's not about living about our own needs and our own wants and making ourselves feel happy. It's about helping those that need it the most. And the final thing is that ordinary people like ourselves can do extraordinary things, because it's not simply the people that are that are in front of the TV or standing up here in front of the podium, or people that you think are in prestigious places of power who are able to go and do that. It's a small act of kindness, whether it's smiling at someone in the beginning of your day, or buying someone a boba tea to pick them up a little bit, or giving your parents a call every now and then. It's the simple acts of kindness that sends ripples throughout. And it's those acts of kindness that will move nations. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe in all of you. Asian American Student Assembly, I believe that you can do big things. And if you stick to these principles, I promise you that you'll move in that direction to go out and change the world. Thank you all very much.